thousands of years ago, they were Apollo, Zeus, Ares. Now they are Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and the other heroes and villains of DC and Marvel Comics. Let's get heroic. Welcome to Under Two Capes, the podcast for the comic book fan. Welcome to Under Two Capes. I'm Jared, and as promised, we have a very, very, very fun episode. I may even go on a couple of rants because we're talking about the worst decisions in comic books. Now, to be clear, this includes both publication decisions, like how they choose to write a certain character or something like that, and then stuff that happened in comic books. So we're talking about both components. I scoured the internet searching for lists, and we're going to go over them. But first, a couple of notes. Number one, like, comment, subscribe. It helps us make more content. We have tons of other great shows on Halo. I may even release a Halo episode tomorrow to talk about, because I played Halo Infinite, and I want to give you guys my thoughts. And we do Star Wars, which we're working on what we want to do with Star Wars. We're going to do some Old Republic stuff. We do an X-Men show where we talk about just basically anything X-Men, and we do a news show. So we have tons of great content for you. If you want to suggest something, you can drop a comment. You can shoot us an email at comicsleague2020@gmail.com. Again, comicsleague2020@gmail.com. It'll be dropped in the comment section below, or in the description of the video and audio podcast. So be on the lookout for that. And let's see what else. I plan on revisiting our old Superman Wonder Woman debate, because that was really popular with you guys, and we're gonna actually have a nice little panel discussion this time. Instead of it just being three people, I'm gonna try and get a couple of people together to make a really good nice heated debate, if you will. So let's get started into the content. And if you're on the audio, if you're listening to us on Spotify or any of the audio platforms, if you want to look at what I'm showing, because I'm going to be sharing my screen, just head over to the YouTube channel at Comics League. All right, sharing my screen. Okay, so we're going to start with this list: the 10 dumbest decisions made by comic book superheroes. So this is what the superheroes have done. The number one: selling your marriage to Mephisto in Spider-Man One More Day. Yeah, his Aunt May is dying, and the only way to bring her back is for Peter to sell his and Mary Jane's marriage to Mephisto, even though it would be better to let Aunt May go in peace. That's true. That was dumb as hell. I'm like, okay, I get you want your Aunt May to live, but she's old. She's lived a life, and you have a wife. What are you gonna do? This is really dumb. This is one of those things that really pisses me off. Not killing the Joker for Batman. Yes, every time Batman sends the Joker to jail, he always breaks out and causes destruction. Somehow usually ends up dead or severely injured. And so someone usually ends up dead or severely injured. Seriously, after everything the Joker has done, why is he still alive? That is true. Here's the issue. Yeah. Here's my opinion on this. I think Batman should kill, particularly the Joker, at least just the Joker. Because the thing about the Joker is he always breaks out. It's like I said here, he's never going to stay in prison, man. And it's pretty obvious that the Joker's never going to reform. So what are you doing, bro? It's one of these things where I'm like, really, dude? I mean, I know, but apparently, Batman has that thing where if I kill the Joker, I may like killing and then just not be able to stop. No, you're 100% fine, Batman. This is the one guy you should kill. One guy I think you should kill, and you'll be fine. Okay. Spider-Man trying to catch Gwen Stacy with a web the night Gwen Stacy died. Spider-Man tried to catch her as she falls off a bridge, but accidentally caused her neck to break and she dies. Yeah, I know. What happens is Norman Osborn captures Gwen Stacy, throws her off the bridge. And they showed this pretty well in the second Andrew Garfield movie, although they changed it to it's Harry Osborn as the Green Goblin, which they had a terrible design for a goblin. That was like really, really bad. Like so bad that it's one of my least favorite depictions. They should have just like, see, here's my problem with it. It looked like crap, like really bad. I liked the actor as Harry Osborn. He was fine. He was 100% fine. I was totally fine with that. It's just the character design, the writing for Green Goblin. I did kind of like how Goblin was laughing. I kind of like that. I think that was a nice little touch. Chef's kiss. Mwah. But anyway, so Green Goblin throws Gwen Stacy off a bridge. Then Spider-Man goes after her naturally. He shoots a web to catch her, and then the web and then when the web gets to her, he like pulls her abruptly, and then that ends up snapping her neck and killing her. So yeah, that was kind of dumb. He could have. I mean, I think he could have gotten to her without doing that. So that's just besides the point. Ms. Marvel follows the man who raped her. Avengers 200. All right, here's the story, and it's very bad. So in Avengers 200, this dude comes back from the future. Actually, so Ms. Marvel apparently is suddenly pregnant. And she checks out who this guy is, and then she gives birth. The dude age accelerates, and it turns out that this is one of the decisions that really angered me when I heard this. Like, this was like really, really dumb. So this kid is the guy who impregnated Ms. Marvel. So apparently we're talking about Carol Danvers back when she was cool. But anyway, what happened was, all right, so the guy comes back, and then yeah, it turns out she was impregnated by her own son, who impregnated her with him. It's really convoluted and dumb as hell. I can't believe that was ever just like allowed by editorial. It was really dumb. Night Thrasher throws Nova off a building. It was only to reignite Nova's powers. It worked, but what would happen if it didn't? Yeah, I love that. Iron Man telling the Mandarin his address. Yes. Even I was like, yeah, that is so dumb. Why are you giving a terrorist your address, bro? That is stupid. I'm skipping over a few of them I'm not familiar with. Refusing to compromise in Watchmen. Rorschach refuses to agree to Tibet's insane plan for world peace, so Dr. Manhattan kills him afterwards. Mind wiping Batman. Yeah, the League decides to mind wipe Dr. Light so he would be less of a threat, and then they mind wipe Batman so he'd forget what they did. Okay, yeah, that is really dumb. That is really, really dumb. You mind wipe the guy that has a plan to kill everyone. Great idea. All right, runners up. The creation of Ultron. Yes. Yeah, that was really dumb. That was insanely stupid. You created essentially Skynet. Deciding to let his teenage self kill him. Yeah, that's really stupid. Relying on Loki. Okay, Spider-Man revealing his identity to the world in Civil War. Yes. I don't know what opening the chest means. But so that's our first list. Now, I just wanted to talk about that list for a second there. Yeah, these are all really dumb decisions. Like, really, really dumb. I'm like, oh my gosh. Sometimes I wonder what the hell goes on at these editors at these comic book companies that they allow this stuff to get through. I'm like, really? Do your freaking job, bro. I'm like, really? Come on. Oh my gosh. Because ultimately you're making these superheroes look like sociopaths. I get this would work if this was just the boys, because this stuff happens in the boys, not in Marvel and DC. This should never have been allowed to happen. Like, really, to say these are blunders would be understating it, like really understating it. I'm like, oh gosh. I have one I want to add. And this was I'm going to close my office door. And this was one of the decisions that I found throughout my own research that I generally agree on. So when the MCU started off, was like taking off, Marvel decided to replace all of its superheroes with the all new, all different line. I get that they wanted more diversity in their lineup. However, you should look at it, because what these comic book companies apparently think is that if an average person goes see a movie, they'll be like, oh man, I want to go read Batman comics now, or Spider-Man, or Iron Man, or what have you. That doesn't happen, first off. And second off, let's assume that that does happen. So let's say I went to go see Thor Ragnarok or something like that. So it's a Thor Dark World, whichever one. And I go, okay, you know what? I want to go read Thor comics, really learn more about this character. You walk into your LCS and you see Jane Foster Thor. What? You see Sam Wilson, Captain America. Nothing against Sam Wilson as Captain America, just to be clear. I'm just saying that if you're trying to get people to come from the movies to read the comics, why are you making the characters different? Why? This is so dumb. Oh, and another thing I think is super stupid was when Bendis, there's no shortage of dumb decisions made by Bendis. When Bendis decided, okay, so here's the all new, all different X-Men. I'm just going to go into the past and bring the X-Men to the future and expect there's no repercussions, even though the X-Men spend a lot of time with time travel, and they could tell you time travel is not to be trifled with. What the hell, bro? Basically, I could tell you all new, all different, except for like a couple of characters, was just one bad decision after another. Because it didn't add up to anything really. Because immediately, guess what? Characters went back. That's why I want to give you a little piece of advice, comics leaguers. Those of you that are like upset by like He-Man dying at the end of Masters of the Universe Revelation. Now, he's not dead. He's clearly not dead because they stabbed him in the gut. If he was stabbed in the chest, you'd have more of an argument. But anyway, let's say let me put it this way. In pop culture, whether that be comic books, animation, or something like that, whenever they change the status quo, I guarantee you, because this happens 100% of the time, they will go back to the status quo eventually. Look what happened with All New, All Different. We have Sam Wilson, Captain America. We have the only one, Jane Foster, Thor. And guess what happens? Guess what? Or Odin's son is back. Steve is back, except he's a Hydra agent. Oh my gosh, that was dumb. That was dumb too. But besides the point. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's how stupid these people are. I'm like, really? These are either creatively bankrupt or they're just bad at their jobs. I'm leaning more toward a halfway point between the two because I think both of these choices, both of these options are really, really likely. So now here's another list. Here's another character that has been put through the ringer. Spider-Man. 10 worst creative decisions made with the wall crawler in comic books. Let's go on. Poor man's Tony Stark. I gotta be honest. I kind of like. Actually, no, I don't like it because here's why. We already have an Iron Man. What are you doing with the whole point of Spider-Man that makes him so great is that, and this article says it, he's a loser, but he's also a hero. You can't make him look like this huge, like billionaire, like industrialist. It doesn't work. They were essentially trying to capture what made Iron Man popular, but give it to Spider-Man. It doesn't work. Next, Spider-Man joins the Avengers. I don't know. I kind of like this because it's a nice way of him upgrading, of him essentially advancing. The whole idea was okay. So when Michael Bendis essentially took over the Avengers, he was going to Grant Morrison them. What I mean by that is that when Grant Morrison took over Justice League, he said, why does the Justice League suck? Why do you have like B to Z tier characters? So that's where we got the modern lineup of Justice Leaguers that we enjoy today, and like Zack Snyder's Justice League, Craftus League, all the books and animated movies of Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Green Lantern, Aquaman, all the really popular characters. So Bendis did the same thing with the Avengers. He goes, why? So we had Avengers disassembled, and this is the idea where you have like most of the really popular Marvel characters of the time, like Spider-Man and Wolverine, join the Avengers because it's like, why the hell not? I think that these companies, if they want to have a good team up book, they need to have the top characters on that team. I get it. It's all what you have to do is have like maybe 3 or 4 like top tier characters, and then have a couple of Z tier characters if you want to elevate them to like top tier. Next decision. Radioactive spider sperm. Okay. Okay, this was like, oh my gosh. Okay, Spider-Man Reign is set in one of the many possible futures, and there are some good ideas to be found here. Written and illustrated by Cara Andrews, this tale takes place in a New York City that has fallen under control of a fascist government where superheroes are no more. Peter Parker is now in his 60s and seemingly battling his declining mental health. And while things do get a little too weird and silly, with the addition of a zombie Dr. Octopus and the return of the Venom symbiote, it's a fun ride, mostly. Unfortunately, Mary Jane isn't around. And that's because after spending several years having sex with Peter and sharing his DNA, she ended up with suffering terminal cancer. The wall-crawling's radioactive sperm killed his wife. Again, who the hell is editing these books? I'm like, it's a freaking moron circus. I'm like, why would you do this? What purpose does this serve? There are some times where editorial has to come in and say, no, we're not doing that. That we are not doing that because that's super weird and gross. I'm like, oh, organic web shooters. Yeah, I kind of hate this. It's like they did this because of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. And so the thing about it is that it's all right. It makes more sense that he builds the web shooters himself instead of just his little gland here, because it puts more into the idea, and it's just my opinion. It puts more into he built himself up, like he created the web shooters, the costume, the name, kind of. It puts more of Spider-Man is a self-made character as opposed to just this. I'm like, this is stupid. Plus the fact it's really weird how, okay, so it's just so he apparently becomes the spider. He cocoons himself, becomes the spider, and then becomes this. I don't know. This is really convoluted and stupid. His death and resurrection. In the 90s were not a good time for Spider-Man fans, and Marvel Comics was big on shocking readers at the time. For whatever reason, those in charge also determined to end Peter's marriage to Mary Jane Watson by any means necessary, including this awful turn of events. Mary Jane is being stalked by a mysterious villain and ends up dying after boarding a plane that randomly explodes midair. With that, Spider-Man is a widower, though it was soon revealed that MJ's mutant stalker faked her death and held her captive. When she returns, she decides to leave Peter, and everything about this story, which we endured for 2 years, mostly sucked. This wasn't the only big change to Spider-Man's status quo. With the signs pointing to this and MJ's stillborn daughter Mary still being alive, Spider-Man broke into Norman's home to retrieve her. Instead, he found Aunt May, who was back after dying in Amazing Spider-Man 400. The May who died was an actress who undergone plastic surgery and changed her DNA. Seriously. Changed her DNA? Oh gosh. All right. Since past. Oh yeah, this is a bad one. This is a bad one. This is the whole idea. Okay. Where, all right. Just so you know, J. Michael Straczynski is a fantastic writer, and he did well with Spider-Man on this, except for the end. So the whole idea was, all right. Apparently, before he killed her, Norman Osborn. All right. Okay. Okay. I'm good. The reason why it's taking me so long to say this is because it's so dumb and stupid and creepy. Norman Osborn slept with Gwen Stacy. So I'm like, what? Why would you do this? Why would you do this? What purpose did this serve? Besides to creep out and probably turn off a lot of Spider-Man fans. What the heck, man? No editor saw this and was like, yeah, this maybe is a bad idea. Next decision. The lizard kills Connor. So the Shred storyline, to take a deep dive into the mind of Dr. Kurt Connors, what seems like him sharing the psyche with the lizard, and watch him as the mild-mannered scientist is eventually overwhelmed by his darker side and murders his son in the process. Okay. The lines were blurred here between Kurt and the lizard, and while the story itself is effective enough, the fact that he actually ate him just took it a step too far. Yeah, that's stupid. I hate that. The clone conspiracy. Oh, no. Are we talking about the clone saga? All right. The clone conspiracy revealed that there was a new jackal in town who was cloning all of Peter Parker's fallen friends and enemies. While the story serves a decent way to bring back familiar faces overdue a return, this series dropped the ball in a huge way when it came to reuniting Spidey with the likes of Uncle Ben and Gwen Stacy. However, by far the dumbest plot point to be found here came with the reveal that it was Ben Reilly beneath the Jackal's mask. Peter's clone from the 90s in Scarlet Spider, Ben was massively popular, but everything here is basically just character assassination at its worst. I hate when they character assassinate. The direction made zero sense for Reilly, who at the one time even replaced Peter Parker as Spider-Man in the comics. And we're sure none of this will be referred to in his return later this year, whenever this was published. But yeah, this is completely stupid. Next, Superior Spider-Man. I kind of like the whole Dr. Octopus as Spider-Man. That was kind of cool. All right, we know some of you love this era, but for us, the decision to have Dr. Octopus take control of Peter Parker's body and live his life as Superior Spider-Man was nothing short of awful. Along the way, Otto creepily romanced Mary Jane while pretending to be Peter, killed criminals, and ruined the Wall-Crawler's relationships with some of his greatest allies. Had this been a storyline lasting for just a few arcs, it might have been easier to forget, but this went on for years. The story ended with a whimper when Ock just decided to hand control back to Peter because he couldn't defeat the Green Goblin. This ultimately felt like the writers responsible for the arc was living some weird wish fulfillment. Regardless, this was a bad time as a Spider-Man fan. Yeah, I can see why you wouldn't like that. One More Day. Oh boy. This is the one where Peter decides, okay, we're going to. Okay, so here's what happened. All right, the Marvel's version of the devil offers Peter a deal to save his Aunt May. His marriage in exchange for Aunt May's life. Peter and MJ accept, and what follows was a new status quo for the web swinger, which regressed his character development by a good 20 or 30 years. Now, Nick Spencer is seemingly looking to undo the damage caused here before he hands the reign to another creative team. I heard he didn't do that. All right. And Lad can tell you, since Lad is like our resident Spider-Man expert, these were some of the dumbest decisions I have ever seen of all time. This makes me really doubt the competence of who works at these comic book companies, because here's the thing. No one here thought that these were bad ideas. No one was actually doing their job. and decided, okay, this might be a bad idea to publish this. Really? Really? This is like really, really stupid. So now I'm gonna go to comic book movies. I think that'd be a good place to go to. Worst creative decisions in comic book movies. Worst casting choices. Okay, you know what? Let's do this. Worst casting choices from comic book movies. All right. George Clooney as Batman. Yes. See, here's the thing. You could put him kind of as Bruce Wayne, but it didn't work out. It didn't work out. Jessica Alba as Sue Storm, despite the mediocrity, which seemed to pervert most every element of Tim Story's Fantastic Four. We're speaking of the 2005, and not the release reboot, though, that we won't claim to have even watched that. We actually like most of the actors cast in their respective roles. Okay, what's the outline? It's Nestle writing her atrocious dye job and her wooden acting. Yeah, she's kind of bad as Sue Storm. I agree with them on that. Terrence Howard as Rhodes. I don't know, but I like Don Cheadle as Rhodey. I think he does a great job. January Jones as Emma Frost. Yeah. Let's see. They said here that like the best casting would be Charlize Theron. I could actually see her as that because what Charlize Theron is good at is communicating sort of a morally ambiguous character, and that's basically Emma Frost. But January Jones was kind of It was poor portrayal of the comic book's most iconic villains. Well, not exactly villains anymore, but a character spends the majority of her time lounging around lingerie and telepathically abusing those around her. She is such an icy character. So talents, but fails to present any kind of real threat during the course of a film. It's a shame too. Yeah. Edward Norton as Bruce Banner. Yeah, I didn't like him as Hulk. I thought he wasn't really that good. I like Mark Ruffalo. Marvel fixed the mistake. I liked him as Bruce Banner. I think he did great. Kelsey Grammer as Hank McCoy. No, I'm gonna disagree with this. I liked him a lot as Beast. I felt he was really, really, really good as Beast. Totally fine with that. I'm skipping this one. Ryan Reynolds as Hal Jordan. Should have cast Nathan Fillion. Okay, I'll go with this. Yeah, because here's how you know it works. They did in the animated movies, and the voice was fantastic. I still think if Reynolds was given a good script, he could have done it. But the Green Lantern movie was just god awful, so we'll never know there. Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze. Yes. Okay, who was rumored to be considered for the role before Schumacher stepped in and vetoed it. Oh, gosh. Nicolas Cage as Johnny Blaze. I liked him as Ghost Rider. I'm going to say no. So they would have cast Eric Bana. No, Eric Bana would have been terrible in this role. Topher Grace as Venom. Yes. Yes. Very much terrible. Terrible. Yes. These were some of the worst casting decisions. I'm going to give you a couple more. Brie Larson as Captain Marvel. Because here's the thing about Carol Danvers. She's supposed to be lively and vivacious and not a wooden character. See, the problem with Brie Larson is that her acting style is to be like very smug and very like low energy. I hate it when that's why I didn't like Killmonger and Black Panther, because he was just like, see these represent all my different kills. See, it just sounded very like wooden. Where when we see him in What If, totally fine. Fix that issue. Let me see here. Perfect superhero casting choices based on terrible movies. 37. Now we're gonna do this. I'm trying to find best and worst MCU decisions. Okay, we're gonna do this one. Okay, here we go. 7 of the best decisions and worst. All right. Worst, lackluster villains. Yes. Chiefly Ultron. By the way, the new What If completely redeems it. It's because it's like, they just keep, yeah, the trope that they established was all they fight is like faceless like robots or aliens, the CGI fight scenes. That's what it is. It's like really annoying too. A part of this is because the MCU villains often mirror their heroes. Fights where the fantastic abilities on the same boats, besides tend to be slightly predictable. Yes, they are predictable. Best, starting the MCU with Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. Yes, he has completely destroyed the role. I mean, he completely nails it. Worse, letting Fox keep the X-Men and Fantastic Four rights. Yes, because while I did like Fox's X-Men to a degree, hated their Fantastic Four, particularly Fan Four Stick. This was like the absolute worst, in my opinion, superhero movie of all time was Fan Four Stick. Again, low energy actors, best. Linking the MCU films with Nick Fury. Yeah, I like this. He's the one common element that's like kind of orchestrating everything and that he's bringing the Avengers together. I like that. Worst, 16 films, no women or people of color as leads. This is an old list. Yeah, this is 2017. So it's an old list. This is before we had like Black Panther and Captain Marvel. So, all right, we're going to move on to that. Best, recasting Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk. Yes, while this was jarring at the time, it was really good. Worst, losing Edgar Wright as the Ant-Man director. Okay, the rigidity of cons. Okay, I'm gonna just best regularly producing films since 2008. Yeah, I kept it in the public consciousness. Worst, recycling the same villain hero's journey. Yeah, that's an issue. Whenever you do whenever Marvel does origin stories like Captain Marvel, Iron Man, Doctor Strange, and such, they keep doing the same thing, and it's really annoying. Best, making Loki the big bad. Yes, because guess what? He brought the Avengers together in the comics, so it just makes sense. Worst, inconsistent heroes. Well, let me read this one. Okay, so take, for instance, Black Widow, a character that gives up her darkest secrets to get away from government control, who then decides to work for the government in her best interest, then flips again. Oh, yeah, they keep going back and forth. I see what they're saying there, and they're right. That is stupid. Best, having faith in James Gunn, the Guardians of the Galaxy. Yes, because he made the Guardians cool. Worst, too many MacGuffins. Yes, there's too many superpowered items. Yeah, it's really annoying. Best decision, having Cap lead the MCU Avengers. Love this because he's like, because let me put this way, Captain America is the closest you can get to Superman, that he's the hopeful character. So it's good to have like the hopeful guy in charge of the team. Now, worse, the destruction fatigue. Yeah, everything just blows up. It's really annoying. So there are a couple of decisions on here that I agree with. A couple of them I don't agree with. But all in all, I think it's pretty, there are some pretty interesting points here. Now, which ones? Because I definitely agree. So there's been a lot of Hollywood directors saying the MCU films are like all like rinse and repeat. To a degree, they're right, because it's like, okay, the villain shows up, heroes fight the villain, then they fight a CGI army, they win, done. So yeah, I could pretty much go with that. Yeah. Worst. All right. So next, I'm trying to find worst comic book movies of all time. Let's look a little bit at this list and then see if this will inspire anything. Spider-Man 3. Okay, to a degree, I liked it, but I didn't like it too. So I get that. X-Men: The Last Stand. Yeah, I didn't like the whole Cure and Dark Phoenix. I got that. Thor. I liked Thor. Iron Man 2. Liked Iron Man 2. Watchmen. Loved Watchmen. Okay, no. I'm not. This is pretty much going on a Snyder bashing, so we're going here. This is just the worst rated. Thor: Dark World. Yeah, I kind of liked it. Hulk. I'll give them the Hulk. Amazing Spider-Man 2. Lad will disagree, and I kind of will. I like it. X-Men Apocalypse. Wholly disagree. I loved it. Blade 2, never saw it. Batman Forever. Yeah, that was not Two-Face. Tommy Lee Jones could have been good as Two-Face, but they wrote him like the Joker. Really, really, really annoying and stupid. Constantine, never saw it. Blade, never saw it. Fantastic Four, the Silver Surfer. Yeah, it wasn't that good. I didn't like it. Batman v Superman. Loved it. Wholly disagree. Superman 3. Yeah, I hated it. Dark Phoenix. I liked it. The New Mutants. As it applies to the New Mutants, I felt it was kind of slow and boring at times. So I'll give them this one. Supergirl, never saw it. Daredevil. Yeah, this was pretty bad. Crappy CGI effects and everything. Suicide Squad. We maybe gained the Ayer cut, so I'm not going to judge this one. X-Men Origins Wolverine. For what they did with Deadpool, yes. Fantastic Four, tie. Yeah, this is dumb. I wasn't a big fan of Fantastic Four. I mean, I kind of liked them, but Green Lantern, bad CGI. Blade Trinity, never saw it. Red Sonja, never saw it. Ghost Rider, I liked it. I'm going to disagree with this. I liked it. Venom, loved it. I don't care what these people say, loved it. And I loved Carnage. We're going to be reviewing that later. Elektra, tie. I never saw it. I liked Ghost Rider 2. I liked Jonah Hex. I love the Punisher. Freaking love the Punisher. And let me see here. Wait, hang on. The 2004 movie stars Thomas Jane as a brutal, over-the-top avenging. It features the same amount of reference to the comic, but doesn't have the humor. Oh, it's that. Hellboy. I didn't see the 2019 Hellboy. I want to watch it. Punisher Warzone. Mitch told me that that was good, so I'm going to hold off a judgment on that one. Howard the Duck. Yeah, this looks terrible. Batman and Robin. Yes, very much so. Chiefly because it features the worst Batman portrayal of all time. The Bat freaking credit card, for one thing. Fan Four Stick. Oh my gosh, yes. They featured low energy actors who didn't have any acting range. I mean, Michael B. Jordan is the only one here that I would say would be really good at this. Yeah, where I'm like, okay, I'm fine with him playing Johnny Storm. If they actually gave him Johnny Storm dialogue, I mean, granted, the most Johnny Storm thing he did was when they go to the alternate dimension and he's like, I'm definitely posting this on Instagram. I was like, okay, that's Johnny Storm. Besides that, I was like, no. Catwoman. Yeah, this is terrible. Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. Oh, the one where he throws a bunch of nukes into the sun and that has no repercussions. Oh, man. There are some really bad comic book movies. It's like, wow. Some of them I disagree with, particularly as it relates to like the DCEU, because it's no secret I enjoy Zack Snyder's movies and most of the DCEU movies. The only one I hated was Birds of Prey, just because the plot was like god awful, and the character portrayal of Cassandra Cain just killed it for me. She's not a pickpocket; she is a badass. Her mom is freaking Lady Shiva, one of the best hand-to-hand combat experts in the entire DC universe. And you just make her a pickpocket. All right, last list we're going to do. Worst comic book events in comic history. One More Day. We already talked about that. Secret Wars 2. Okay, when Marvel's crossover event Secret Wars hit newsstands, it was a huge success. So naturally, a capitalist company is going to go ahead and make another one. Secret Wars 2 came out the following year and it featured the Beyonder, who decided to come to Earth to learn what it means to be a human. The story is poorly executed and kind of unimpressive. All right, move on. Infinite Crisis. I loved Infinite Crisis. Ignoring this. Secret Invasion. What the heck, man? I love Secret Invasion. Pacing was too slow and the action finally ramps up. The payoff is barely there. No, it is there. Maximum Carnage. I like the storyline. Civil War 2. Yeah, this was terrible, particularly as it follows one of the greatest Marvel storylines of all time, Civil War 1. The Amalgam Universe. Okay, this was cool. I'm disagreeing with that. Captain America Reborn. What the heck was this? The only thing that could possibly end the Civil War was the death of Captain America. He served the United States well in his decades-long battle against evil, so they offed him to make a point. Of course, comic book characters are pretty much immortal so long as anyone's willing to pay for a new comic book. So Marvel decided to bring him back. The whole storyline was a convoluted mess. And the bottom line, friends, that Steve Rogers became unstuck in time. If you read that Slaughterhouse 5, you know what that means. He jumps back and forth, reliving past experiences. This was the result of a gun used to kill them. It had tachyon particles in them that somehow put him out of sync with reality. Yeah, it sounds stupid. DC versus Marvel Comics. Disagree, this was dope. Flashpoint. Disagree, this was dope. Ultimatum. Yeah, this was terrible. This was really bad, where they just basically wiped out most of the Ultimate Universe. Then you had Secret Wars, which completely destroyed it. The Clone Saga. Oh boy, yes, this was terrible and very, very confusing. Superior Spider-Man. I mentioned how I kind of go back and forth on this, and I'll ask Lad about this the next time he's on. The Death of Superman. That was not a terrible storyline. What the heck, man? Had a negative effect in the comic book industry, similar to what happened with video games. People got tired of the gimmicks and extras you had to buy if you wanted to collect them all. Kids' allowances wouldn't cover costs. Oh, okay. Let me see. People weren't even collectors, went out to buy multiple copies of this thing, thinking it was shipping value. Okay, that's dumb. Onslaught, yes, certainly interesting take. Professor X, the most powerful psychic in the universe, and make him go insane after his and Magneto's psyches are merged. That's actually sounds kind of cool. He transformed into a giant armored monstrosity called Onslaught, who then goes out and conquers Manhattan. Toward this end, Onslaught becomes so powerful he becomes a being of pure psionic energy. Okay, when it comes to crummy events, leading to crummy events, Onslaught takes the cake. Okay. All right. So those are some of the dumbest decisions dumbest creative decisions made in comic books and comic book movies. And hope you enjoyed my rants, because as you can tell, this stuff pisses me off when they take potential. The potential is there and they completely wreck it. They take a sledgehammer to the wall that is good comic book characters and just bang it out. It's really annoying. All right, back to something more positive. To end it on a high note. All right, we're going to be that's the end of this episode, by the way. We're going to be revisiting like a lot of our most popular episodes, the topics and what we do to give you guys more of what you seem to like our Superman, Wonder Woman, and our Super Wonder and Wonder Bat debate episode just hit like 50 views or something like that. So we're going to do like a follow-up to that, because I have some other friends that wanted to come on and give their opinions on this, as well as someone that's pro Superman and Wonder Woman. So I don't have to be the only guy there defending it, the only person there defending it. So yeah, we'll be revisiting that. We'll be doing we might be starting some He-Man content, since that was like ridiculously popular when the trailer came out. But I think that's a good place to leave it. I hope you guys enjoyed all my rants, and yeah, have a good rest of your weekend, everyone. Stay heroic. Bye.